welcome to ZFG. I'm Krista.
Hey. Hey.
Hey, what's up? What's up, girls? What's going on?
That was your best intro yet.
Hey. I think so.
You actually nailed the hey.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
What if it were the full name of the show? Can you do that?
That's kind of tough. Can you do it? It's a mouthful.
You know, it brings up a good point. What is the best way to, when you write an informal email to someone, what is the best way to kind of start the email? Because I'm like, hey is a bit weird. Yo is pretty informal. Just putting their name feels too formal. Like, what is the
think
best?
HE, like, I do a hey. What do you do? What do you do?
Well,
Hello.
Well, it depends on where they're based. So outside the U.S., a lot of times people will start the emails they're writing this
I just
letter.
fell asleep. What?
So.
What's going on? Go on. Sorry.
Like so outside the US, you can't do.
No, outside the US, they always dear Freddy.
Yeah.
Dear you. And so sometimes, but that always makes me feel weird. It's like, we're not like writing a formal letter here.
Right.
You know? So it depends on where. But I guess a lot of times just be hey or hi or whatever.
Gotcha. Moving on quickly, Krista.
That was just a very riveting topic. Thanks for making that the opening.
It's just that she said, hey, like I imagine someone reading my email being like, hey.
You know what it is? I'm really tired. I'm trying to like be up and positive.
Everybody's tired. Cut the bullshit. Everybody's tired. No excuses.
And also we have all the lights on here. And
as we always do.
No, we're not supposed to have the
yeah.
Crap. I wonder if that's gonna be
whose job is the light switch? That's yours.
It's Krista.
You handle the light switch. Or
She's
not.
a failure. Anyway, I want to know, well, can you at least ask them if we should turn them off or not?
We're already going.
Yeah.
It's, that ship has sailed.
The viewers who are watching this already have been blinded.
You would have to you'd have to redo the intro.
Hey! What up? I'm only kidding. But it is hot in here now. I'm gonna be sweating my teeth off. So on sad news, Freddy just told me something that is, I hope, not true. That Tina Turner died.
Correct.
Yeah.
But do you believe us, or did we
usually
make a graphic?
I usually don't
to show you right before
a word
filming
that the two of them said. Like
you don't believe a true word we say. Right. You believe all the false words we say. It's a really interesting phenomenon.
You're just constantly
that's pretty deep, and I don't want to go there.
It's been 7 years of working with us.
Yeah.
And
like someone might be coming into the office and be like, yeah, he's actually a really fucking big deal. And you'd be like, what, this guy? No, I'm like, yeah, actually he is like a big fucking deal. He's like really important. And you'll be like,
well, most people who come to our office are big deals.
True. Well, there was the guy sitting on the table the other week and we're like, yeah, that guy's actually a big fucking deal.
I know what you're thinking, viewers. Who are the two douchebags that I'm sitting next to?
who are blindingly lit.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Everybody's a pretty big deal coming in here.
All right, big deal issue number 1. Go for it, Krista.
Default risk. Who wants to talk about it?
What do you think?
You want to know what I think?
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
The market is hanging on every word here.
The market always hangs on every word
Powell's
I say.
tuned in.
Listen, I was nominated for an award. Let's fucking talk about
that. Oh yeah, we
that.
forgot to put that on the list. We
have
to talk about
that. That's a pretty big one.
So yeah, all right, let's talk about this. I was fucking furious that
we went and we didn't win.
That fucking Saba, Boaz Weinstein got your award. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Yeah, I want to know
that
why.
Guy hasn't
why
done
did that happen?
Anything good since, I don't know, the London whale and the probably $5 billion and the impressive returns he puts up.
Yeah,
that doesn't make you an activist, Boaz.
So who did you think, if we weren't going to win, did you think?
I knew who was going to win because as we were sitting there, do you not remember? We were sitting there and I was like, this guy's going to win.
Pretty lit.
And Krista's like, how the fuck do you know that? I'm like, flick over to the sponsors page and you'll notice we're not there.
Right. So yeah, Saba.
Oh yes,
Saba,
I do remember you saying
Saba
that.
won
I
2 of the
totally do.
awards.
Yes, that's right.
So they won 2 of the awards, and so Boaz was up there to accept it. And he said that the activism means so much to him because what they do is they basically try to close the discounts to NAV in some of these ETFs. And then, but the really big winner that night also was Ken Griffin.
Yes.
And so he did that, of course, all on the back of MMTLP or whatever that
Yes. So the award was given out, and they didn't publicize this, but it was for greatest number of ghost shares shorted.
Formerly known as synthetic shares, but presently ghost shares.
So it was like a funny thing. So
why don't we haven't told our
let's provide
viewers.
some background to why we got invited to an award show.
Well, we really don't know why.
And I think it was who was sponsoring that? The investor.
Well, it was institutional investor.
Investors, that's right. And,
so
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean I don't know. That's all I know.
So it was at the Mandarin Oriental, and
the Mandarin.
And so we started getting these emails, and when I say me, it was Krista and me. And it was like, dear Krista and Carson, congratulations on being nominated to Institutional Investors Activist Hedge Fund of the Year Award. And, last year was like our shittiest years, our least good year. And so I thought this was a joke, also because, you were nominated. But
well, I confirmed with the guy that I've been like, do you mean to say Freddy and Carson? He said no.
No, like who the fuck's that?
No, they didn't say that. They said that I was nominated by my peers.
Yeah, so...
Like the secretary poll?
No!
So there were multiple reasons to think this was a joke.
That's good.
The typing pool. Actually, no, because I can type faster than you can. So
I could do a couple of things better. Don't ask me what things they are, but I know I can.
So anyway, but then we saw the night before. I also saw that Spruce Point was nominated for a different category. So we were activist. They were nominated in event driven.
Most pages per report, I think it was. So, I think it's highest page count to lowest stock impact.
So I really did want to take the piss a little bit with Ben and basically put like a package of raw spaghetti at his table.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But so
where did you leave?
Well, no, right before the event,
He's like
I went to a D'Agostino market, and I tried to get the smallest, lightest package of spaghetti.
You got some rigatoni.
No, I mean actual spaghetti. It's like not pasta, spaghetti.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's Spaghetti Ben, like throwing spaghetti against the wall. Like that was the charge leveled against him by pretty much everybody. But
so spaghetti,
specifically
not
Jehoshaphat.
Not
right, spaghetti. I mean, have you ever heard people say like, "Oh, let me throw rigatoni against the wall and see what sticks"?
Right. So spaghetti.
It's about what sticks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'd forgotten that spaghetti noodles are actually kind of long.
Yes.
And it wasn't really, when I got there was just no like low-key way to bring in the fucking spaghetti noodles. So
I think he's saying linguine.
No, it was, dude, you like spell spaghetti.
Not right now.
Yeah, exactly. I could spell it. So I brought the spaghetti noodles there, but then I get to the door going into the ballroom, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to look like a fucking
I want our viewers to know
weirdo
he's also
walking around with this spaghetti.
Me. Where's Freddy?
Oh yeah, I wanted you to tape the
spaghetti.
I want you to tape it to your
and
thigh.
I'm like, I swear to God, he's not kidding.
Yeah,
I'm like
you to
looking
tape
at
it to your
this
thigh.
text. This is my third vodka in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is he high?
Meanwhile, at that point, you are fucking picking up potential LPs for us left, right, and center. Like, there was that creepy dude who was talking to you.
I thought he was lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what vodka does for you.
Yeah.
Listen, I
sometimes
was in
makes
like
the world a lot more
sea
palatable.
of douchebags. I'm like, who can I?
I gotta say, it is one of these things where you you recognize that a room full of finance people is a particularly socially awkward thing, where everyone's kind of like, has a little bit of small talk and can like jarringly talk about like returns
everybody's
and alpha
looking
and
at
stuff.
like everybody's little name tag. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I turn mine backwards thinking, haha.
Actually, that was the other cool thing they had, the little magnetic name
Yeah.
tag things.
That was
A
that was
fucking
very
game
good.
changer.
I
Yeah.
actually want
Yeah,
them in
where you
the
don't need to
office.
poke a hole in your
Yeah.
lapel.
That's
Yeah,
great.
That is a fucking game changer. And
So that was kind of worth it.
Yeah.
You know, from another, it's like see
The food was
new
nice.
technology.
I actually haven't been
It was
to the
nice.
Mandarin Oriental in quite some time, and that is a nice room. And yeah, I mean, I have no complaints.
yeah. It was fun watching a marketing person talk
Well,
at someone too. That was
Oh
good.
yes, that was great.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt, I don't know, we'll see, but did she browbeat him into a subscription?
Honestly, I
I
wanted
doubt
to
it.
quit. She almost like I was like, I'll write a check. I
That
don't
was
care.
good.
Well, then she came over and was like telling me I need to go sit next to the
Like,
guy.
whoa, leave the poor fucking guy alone. In fact,
Yeah, I know.
at one
She's
point
like,
I
don't
went
worry,
out,
Carson's coming over.
At one
He's
point, I
gonna
saw her
shoot
breathing,
it.
and I said to the guy, I'm like, listen, if you write us a $10 million check, I'll just get her to shut the fuck up, okay? Like, the pain can stop. And I turned to the guy next to me, who's running, like, one of the biggest corporate pension funds. We're just having a nice chat, shooting shit. I'm like, hey, she's going to come over and sit next to you, too, if you don't write a check. And he's like, "Whoa." But yeah, it was actually like a very well produced event.
Yeah, it
I thought
was.
it was much more fancy and proper than I was expecting.
So I guess we need to sponsor next year. Like, let's sponsor. And what categories should we win next year?
Lifetime achievement.
Well, lifetime
Well, that's
achievement.
clearly, yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, obviously.
And then, but I mean, so like the easy categories, maybe best credit fund,
Best quant fund as well.
quant fund. How about pension? Should we tell them we want to win the pension?
We've done a
award
great
too?
job with Krista, right? We told her to sell a house in California at the right time.
You
what else?
laughed, but
True.
I made a little money.
What are
there.
you making on your CD? Like 4 or 5%? I mean,
That would have been
it's
real money in the day.
That's huge alpha versus putting it in the market when you're planning to. So probably we are the best pension fund managers in that room.
Okay.
Whatever.
So yeah, it was good. And then we had the pleasure of going out for a nice drink, and they
That's where I
refused.
forget what happened.
Well, yeah, you were like,
By then you were totally shit.
Yeah. Like,
Did you throw up at all that night?
No.
Really? Are you
No,
sure?
I woke up
Or
and
did you
actually
just
worked
forget?
out. No. I had to take a flight.
You woke up and worked out. That
Yes.
tells me you threw up.
No, I woke up. I worked out
No,
downstairs.
no. There's no way you woke up and were like, oh, I feel good enough to work out unless you tossed your cookies somewhere.
I
the
didn't
night
toss
before.
my cookies anywhere.
you
So
were
So-
6 sheets to the wind.
So which?
I know, but for some reason, I swear to God,
How did you get back to your hotel?
I don't remember. Was I on anybody's back? Did we walk back together?
Oh, dear.
Do I look familiar to you? All right. Well, anyway, fun time was had. Clearly, I had the most fun, and these two are fucking jealous. So, as per usual. So, where are we on this thing?
The
Default risk.
Default risk. We're kind of slowly proceeding towards it. So, to back it up, I know probably a lot of people watching the show don't think we're a really serious hedge fund that take macro issues incredibly seriously. But once in a while, we're like, hey, there is this thing that's going to happen. We should work out if that could be really fucking bad for us.
Well, I also want to say that we did figure out really what makes a macro hedge fund stand out, and that is remembering which trades you have on.
Yes, that too.
Because that can be hard, when
can.
I have to admit, in the early days, we made a little bit of money by forgetting that we'd had certain risks still on. So,
Just to be clear, that was before we managed outside money.
right, that was
for
just
anyone
that was
who's
just
watching.
internal. That was just internal.
Yes.
So it actually really counted. But
So the US may run out of money. There was an interesting BAML piece out. Now obviously, BAML are a bank that no longer do business with us, so it's amazing they've been able to limp on for as long as they have. But
their day must be coming.
yes, there was an interesting Babel piece out, and what it really boiled down to is there were a couple of pretty asymmetric trades. One that was kind of a put structure on just equity indices, and the other one was related to gold.
But it was GLD.
Yeah, it was GLD, which is the equity that's
The
like
ETF.
somehow,
Supposedly backed by gold, but you know, if you
but
really,
by the time you're gonna find out,
well, that's the thing. Like if you own that because you're worried about, because you have a confidence issue in the financial system, I'm not sure that you want to buy the ETF instead of the underlying.
the guys who own the physical gold, right? Like, this is the other thing I've been thinking of, okay? There's a vault in London. There was a piece in the Financial Times. There's a vault, and it's had, like, off-the-charts demand. London and UK, we don't carry guns. All I've got to do if I want to pull that trade off is work out where that is as a big fucking lines forming outside, like, watch the people go in, see them come out with rather heavy briefcases, and I know where the gold is, and mug them.
So you're going to go to every line in London and try to see who's coming out?
Well, no, you can
like,
look up the
weighed
address
down?
of these places. It's not like a big secret as to where these gold vaults are.
So what is it that you just worked out that's so profound?
Well, that you don't need to own the gold. You can just mug the dudes who are all on their way out with the heavy briefcases. Like, that seems to be the better trade.
I think it's a little bit more difficult than you're
So,
saying.
All right. So
But now that I've just told everyone that,
you're going to go crack some skulls there and...
dude,
Clearly,
fucking-
with his muscles, absolutely.
listen, I know you guys think gold's about guns, but this actually brings up a really important topic, okay? Football hooliganism is fucking back, okay?
I'm so glad to hear that. That's the only thing that makes soccer worthwhile.
So West Ham, who are a London team from a...
Yeah, I had to look them up. I'm like, what?
I know.
I know, sorry.
You want to know what's going to fucking blow your mind, and I know you're not going to believe me. West Ham Stadium, the old one, Upton Park, was actually in East Ham. Yeah. Work that out.
Whoa!
So is ham short for something, or
How
it's just an unfortunate name?
I think it's just an unfortunate name. So, anyway, West Ham are now in the London Olympic Stadium. It was this really smart deal they did where the UK built this big Olympic stadium, and they're like, shit, there's no one to actually do anything in this after. And this football team are like, yeah, we could help you out. We'll buy it for like £1 because who the fuck else is going to buy it? So they are now in the third-rate European Cup. This is like the one that really no one gives a shit about. And they got into the final. And the team they were playing to get into the final was called AZ Alkmaar. And they're from some...
AZ what?
AZ Alkmaar. They're from like one of these shit places that you couldn't point to on a map.
In the UK, or?
No, in like Eastern Europe somewhere,
okay.
I think. And what happened was, after AZ Alkmaar lost, the fans, like all in like black hoodies, rushed into like the West Ham area, like mostly the bit actually where like families were sitting to like, you know, have like a good old fashioned dust up. And there's this one fan.
When you say dust up, do you mean like beat the shit out of
like
each
yeah,
other?
like
Blown, yeah.
punch babies and things
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. You know,
That's
it's just
normal.
regular football hooliganism. And there was this one fan called Knowlesy, and he's a very famous West Ham sort of
Sorry.
football hooligan
Knowlesy?
/ fan. And he basically is like standing there, sort of like, you know, in the way of all these dudes, being like, come on, let's fucking have it. And this dude has got like tons of press. The club have given him a free ticket to the final. And that's all very well and great. But what is more impressive for me is that he now has his own WWE style action figure that you can buy in shops for the low price of £370 on eBay.
Way!
How fucking cool is that? Action figure
Oh, wait, it just went away.
football hooligans.
So where's the beer in his hands? Does he have one?
No, he's like
No,
like
but
in
I
the
just saw
action.
him in like a
How fucking cool is
bobblehead.
that?
That's very cool. It's just not realistic without the, you know.
Right. So
booze.
my thinking is
I'd like
we've
to think.
discussed the World Cup of hooliganism previously,
Yeah.
and you know we were only looking at TV rights, fucking merchandising.
Wow.
This is big time.
Wow.
So I'm going to put in a call to Mattel, see if we can get the exclusive tie-up with them and get, like, football hooligans. Because you know that's going to encourage more participation. Like,
Oh, yeah. Not
Like-
that we would
Wow.
really need to incentivize people beyond just show up and fight for your national team.
right.
But
But to get to the level of status-
these guys, I think, pretty happy to do that for
Wow.
Yeah.
probably no real reason
True.
whatsoever.
So anyway,
Did I just see a bobblehead of him?
yeah, that's so he's got his own bobblehead. Pretty cool, right?
Wow. What am I doing wrong?
Good preparation for if the US
Well, I mean,
defaults.
shit. Like after you win the award next year, then you'll have your own WWE figure also.
Something.
So you could
I
go
want
off the ropes on like Ken Griffin and fucking Boaz drop kick his ass. You suck.
When you fucking die, if I
Dude,
like,
that would be
some,
such
like,
a great little collectible hedge fund.
Like we need
action
some sort
figures.
of like story.
That would be awesome.
Totally. Like every sell side analyst, it's just, basically they're on their knees constantly to like half height of management action figures.
Like the action figure actually, like it doesn't have a knee that goes like that. It's
Right.
Just, it's just
Exactly.
one plastic mold.
Exactly.
That's an awesome idea. They come with special knee pads.
Right, exactly. Just like they're praying. And here we were. We said we weren't going to dunk on Mother Teresa. Specifically, we said we're not going to like bring up Mother Teresa's myriad flaws, and it just kind of segues right into that.
What do you
doesn't
have
it?
to? Yes, it does.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, you said you were a better Catholic than she ever was, so come on,
I did
have at
not
it.
say that. I did not say that.
All right, so seriously, U.S. debt default. It seems like, lo and behold, the Republicans and the Democrats can't agree on things. There's not a lot at stake, only whether the safest asset on the planet stands to no longer actually pay the people who own bonds. But I think the interesting discussion we were having around this was partly, at least I thought it was interesting, partly how there appear to be these kind of tail type trades linked to equity products. And what's interesting about that is if you both look at US CDS market and you look at VIX, those have actually moved. So there are people in parts of markets paying attention to this seemingly, and like dumb equity world where it's pretty much HFT guys just going against each other every day, and morons like us who care about, and I try not to use the F word too much, but fundamentals, really sort of missing these large macro events. And it was something pretty similar to what we saw with COVID, where things were really calm. There were certain parts of the world where markets were actually in a little bit of turmoil. There was credit stress that was appearing, and equity markets just didn't care. And then one day they did.
Well, the credit guys, generally seem to be less inured to risk and than the equity guys. But
Except the ones who hold Vivian bonds. Those guys are totally fucking inert to risk.
well,
Morons.
yeah, clearly. there are exceptions. I'm talking the market. But no, what you and I were discussing this morning, and it got a little bit heated, wasn't so much the tail trades, because it was
When was this?
this morning.
9 a.m. we fucking went at it hard.
Yeah.
Krista.
Did
So
you
when-
guys
so
get
when
in
you-
a fight? I knew something
So
happened.
when you sent me that email saying, "Oh, are you getting on the whatever call?" It was because I
Yeah.
was still like
Fighting?
debating with
Dude,
Freddy about
It was
what
like
to
Griffin
do.
and Boaz going at
Well,
it. It
he's
was
a bit of a
fucking-
hothead. It doesn't matter if it's 8:15 in the morning or like whatever. What were you saying?
Dude, this was
Okay,
rigorous
what was I
intellectual
saying?
debate.
I don't.
I was saying that going into June 1st-ish, because that's not a precise date as to when the U.S. runs out of money. And look, maybe they stop paying federal salaries before they default on the bonds. But going into this, I wanted to take off somewhere between half and 2/3 of our risk. And so we run a hedged book, right? Like, so we're, short, $10 of XYZ, we're long a factor basket against it, roughly $10. And this is the thing. So my view is that probably we're not going to default. Okay, probably the political stunt. Everybody comes back from the brink just in time. Although one of these times we probably go over the cliff. I mean, it's because this strain of nihilism of, trying to like push a democratic administration against the wall into a default. So this doesn't happen amazingly when like the Republicans control the presidency. This strain of nihilism has been there since 2011. It's not going anywhere. So I can make a case that, if I'm Joe Biden and I feel like I can politically hang this on, Republicans, or at least on the Tea Party, MAGA caucus, that I do so and I let the default occur because, it's probably, until we actually do this, until these guys, until their constituents see what a fucking horrific thing this is, it probably just keeps recurring. So I can make a case that maybe, Biden, for political reasons does go over the cliff. That would obviously be bad for the country, but it's probably going to happen sooner or later. So getting back to my point here, if we go over the cliff, if there's a default on debt, one of the things that I was reading, and nobody knows what would happen. Like that's the problem. Like the plumbing is hyper complicated. There's so much leverage in the system. The difference between now and 2008 is there's more leverage. It's just not at the banks. It's elsewhere. But the plumbing is so complicated. You don't know what breaks. But one of the articles that I read recently talked about Fedwire. So Fedwire is the system, the clearinghouse system that the federal government has set up to ensure that holders of treasuries, they get paid their coupon payments and their principal. And so apparently, if they don't do something to Fedwire to prepare for default on certain bonds, then those bonds, Fedwire would automatically assume the bonds have been paid when they have not, and the bonds would fall out of the system. And so treasuries are basically the foundation in which all this leverage in the system is built, because they're pledged as collateral for loans. So if you had a situation where part of Fedwire, where Fedwire didn't recognize these bonds anymore, assuming they'd been paid off and they hadn't, then you could see portions of the treasury market freezing up. And so at that point, and again, like there are a million scenarios, right? Like this could be one way in which bad shit starts to happen, but you could see counterparties, the prime brokers saying, to their clients, deleverage now. And so you could see these dislocations where, shitcos just rip and maybe algos go in there and push them. I mean, who the fuck knows? But that's basically my point. We don't know the probability of a default. Again, I consider it to be a minority possibility, but we don't know the probability. Don't know if there is a default, what dominoes are going to fall, and just don't know how this plays out. So from my view is, even though you'd think that when we're trying to generate alpha from the short side, even though you think that'd be good for us, on a very short time scale, like intraday time scale to maybe 3 days, maybe guys who are short single names can just get fucking savaged because one or two of them just go the wrong way and the hedges don't move with. I mean, it's unknowable. I mean, I bring up I brought up when I was talking to Freddy, the example of Copper River. So that's, an insane and jealous failed former short seller's former fund. And so they were short a bunch of banks going into Lehman's failure. Now, the thing is, you'd think like if you go back in time and, you're the soon to be failed former short seller and you're asking somebody at your firm, hey, what do you think? Should we have this much risk on by being short financials? The answer would be, yeah, because one of them's about to fail, like Lehman, or is it going to be Merrill? Of course we're going to do very well. But what wasn't anticipated was the SEC coming in and temporarily banning the short sales of financials. And so what happened, there was this temporary dislocation where the financials ripped. And so that's basically, my understanding is, and like I could be somewhat wrong with this, but my understanding of how Copper River failed was that these ripped. And so you had this prime broker over here, Goldman, saying like post collateral now because the movements are against you. But the problem was they also had a bunch of collateral at Lehman that they couldn't access, and so Goldman blew them out. And so it's like those kinds of dislocations, though that was not reasonably foreseeable on the eve of Lehman's failure, you know? So I don't know. Like, I agree that if that happened, if we went over the cliff, probably that's very good for guys like us who generate profits from, you know, attempting to extract short alpha. But I don't know, man. I just don't want to be, I don't want to subject us to that volatility. And you, on the other hand, you were like, no, let's keep the risk on.
Look, my view was certainly neither of us have any clue on whether they reach an agreement. Maybe it's 10% probability they do. Maybe it's 50%. Who really knows, right? Whenever I remember that Paul Tudor Jones documentary, I think it's called Traded, and he's like talking about OPEC and, you know, I think...
He'd like your sneakers, by the way, right? Because he was wearing like Converse Chuck Taylors and that, or...
Yeah, but these aren't Bruce Willis sneakers. It's a great fucking documentary. Like, I think they keep trying to pull links down, but it's...
What's the documentary called?
It's called Traded or Trader or something. Like, they sort of follow around Paul Tudor Jones before anyone knew what a fucking hedge fund was. And so what's interesting is he's sitting there and he, I think, is betting against oil. And the guy's like, well, what's the thing? And he's like looking at the charts and they're like, right, but OPEC are getting together to, you know, like they're going to discuss cutting production. He's like, I'll bet against like two guys getting in a room and actually being able to agree something. So that always kind of stuck in my head, especially with this. We're like, who knows what these guys are thinking. But yeah, my view was, and certainly we do stuff where we de-risk around events. We have no fucking idea, and we're not playing macro.
Well, that's kind of new. Like, we did that after Silicon Valley Bank because we were worried about action, you know, like policy action that could create dislocations, and felt like we have no edge at this moment in time because it's beta, not alpha, that we'd be subject to.
My view is, yes, can you have, so let's say we go into a scenario where things default and it's completely uncharted territory and there's mass deleveraging. There is a chance that something goes like very haywire. And look, we've certainly seen in the last couple of weeks, there is probably some sort of degrossing size factor thing because ARK has gone up in a straightish line for a couple of days. And I think the early part of this week and late last week was very fucking painful for short sellers because generally short sellers are short smaller, shittier companies, and large caps actually perform pretty well, which granted, it's about 6 to 7 companies that are keeping the majority of the index up. So my view is like, yes, could you see a really sharp rally in a single name? You could. Is it something you can hedge against? Possibly. On the balance of probabilities, if you get a US default, like, is this fucking cataclysmic? And do you get this just enormous, like, puking de-risking event like we've probably never seen before? Or maybe like a COVID style, just like everything all down in a straight line because all these models and quants and everything runs off like this risk-free piece and they maybe no longer know how to price that. Yeah, my view is you probably do. So it's like trying to weigh, hey, if the unthinkable happens, how much am I looking at you miss the opportunity to make some money versus how much am I concerned about the unknown. And look, I'll take issue with the former failed short seller, like it being unknown. They talked about short selling bans, okay? People knew Lehman was failing. There's a guy called David Einhorn who went up on fucking stage and was like, this bank will fail.
Yes, in May of 2008, Einhorn was up there talking. I don't think he said this bank will fail. I think he pointed out that there were issues with its accounting, like the repo accounting. So he got into that. I don't think he certainly didn't go up and say this bank's going to fail. I mean, that would have been a bridge too far.
I mean, like, you know, it wasn't
and it wasn't necessarily Lehman. It could have been Merrill. That going into that weekend in which Lehman failed, like it was,
but a lot of people pulled collateral from Lehman and other banks. A lot of hedge funds.
He should have pulled collateral, agree like that was a huge risk management fuck up. But what I'm saying, like that's what caused, as I understand it, that's what caused the failure was the inability to meet the margin call because collateral was locked up at Lehman. But what caused the margin call was overconcentration in financials when that ban went into effect and you had this rip. But, obviously if they would have been able to stay in those positions for a little bit longer, they would have killed it, because that's when like dynastic fortunes were made by short sellers, the ones who were especially short financials. But yeah, in any event, because we're talking about something here that I think is even harder to understand how it would play out than, Lehman's bankruptcy. Yeah, I'm just of the view like, look, man, our clients, want us to generate alpha, not take market risk more than we need to. And plus we're already past the reporting season. True. So, like the things that were short, like the catalysts, are usually around report, in quarterly reports. So yeah, I don't know. I think no edge and basically significantly dial back risk for 2 to 3 week period.
Look, on the basis we didn't come to an agreement on this, Krista,
Really?
you are gonna decide.
Yeah, you're. So what should we do? All right, here are your choices: maintain current position sizes, decrease them, or double the position sizes.
Not double.
Okay.
Damn it.
What?
I mean, look, if we did and we made money, your bonus would be
Fucking
you'd
jacked.
be a huge fucking
How
bonus.
did you ask me that?
2x0. Fucking boom.
I mean, you're playing with house money on this one. You probably don't get your bonus cut, right? So you can upsize your bonus if you give the right answer. If you give the right answer, you can upsize your bonus.
So what were the other two again?
Oh, Krista.
What?
Never paying attention to the bits that really matter. So anyways, want to talk about the stuff, your latest reading material. Noticed the other day on your desk that you had a copy of one of Saddam Hussein's romance novels.
Yeah.
How'd you get into that?
Someone left it on my desk. One of his 4 novels.
4?
He has 4 novels, yeah.
It's 4? Okay.
Yes, and like a bunch of poems.
Ooh, the poems.
Yeah.
That
Are
I
they the
didn't know.
ones like where you have the word along the side, so it's
I
like,
didn't look
it's
at the-
Saddam.
Yes.
And it's
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. But whose item was that?
what came up in conversation? I can't remember.
It was at
It
lunch
was-
yesterday I learned about this. I didn't know he had written romance novels.
Yeah, it might have been him. Were we talking about Gaddafi and how we thought he was funny?
Oh, right. Like how Gaddafi was, particularly eccentric and then learns that actually Saddam had written romance novels. And they were supposed to be somewhat allegories as to his relationship with the Iraqi people.
No, this was some of the novels he had written. These are not the romance novels.
No, they were the romance novels.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't have my
I think Zabaya and the King was about.
I'm like, does that say Whalen in the City?
No, I think
Yeah.
I think Zabaya and the King was about like a woman who was raped by a guy, and the subtle subtext was the woman was Iraq and the mean husband was the USA or something.
And this is the other novel. I don't
The Fortified Calm. Okay. Wow, a lot of political.
Yeah.
The delayed wedding of the Iraqi hero who fought in the war against Iran to Kurdish girls. 3. Yeah, this one doesn't seem as interesting.
It's not a page turner like
No.
that.
So actually, I know a guy who impregnated a porn starlet whose porn name was Paige Turner.
See, that doesn't surprise me that much.
I was wondering where Saddam was going to fit into that. Anyways.
And you say when you know a guy, is this you? What is that?
No, because they had the baby.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been me. No, it's actually this. I'm not going to say his name, but this is an interesting guy.
You can beep it up.
No, anyway,
Beep.
I actually don't remember his last name. His first name was Kevin, I think. So this guy had like all of these gifts from God, basically, and still manages to fuck them up at every single turn. So he didn't I don't even think he started college, right? But during the .com bubble, he was working, I think he was working for like AOL, and he was making like 90 something K, no college degree. I mean, this is in the late 90s, okay? And he was 24, 25 years old. That was good money at that time. It's fucking more than I was making. Gets laid off, but .com bubble bursts, gets picked up somewhere else, and he's also making good money. So he ends up there banging his secretary, or banging somebody underneath him. So he gets fired, from like a job that was massively overcompensating him. Then at the same
90s, that was hard to do, right?
Well, now this is around 2001. So then he ends up like living the fucking dream. Like somehow there's this like lesbian couple, both hot, like, but he gets
This is true.
This is true. Like so he gets in. I mean, it was 2000, 2001. Okay, so like before today, where where they all like speak with husky voices and rail about toxic masculinity. But so anyway, it's like lesbian couple. He gets in there, so it's like a love triangle, right? So they're a, I don't know, like a triple. I don't know what it is, but every night, like goes to bed with the two of them, wakes up with the two of them, like living the dream. Well, for whatever reason, this fucking moron decides that they have to kick one of the women out of the love triangle and make it a couple. So that's what they do. They alienate her.
It was one of the woman's idea. Like, I bet you it wasn't his idea.
I don't know, but he went along with it. So it's like, look, one woman is
What an idiot.
One woman is less good than two. I think we can all agree on this. Yeah. Right. So yeah, I mean, it's basic math. Like two is better than one, and he decided to go from two to one. And then that relationship also fell apart, and it just like, I don't know.
Surprising.
No, it eventually fell apart.
It's not quality.
Yeah, I mean, like it used to trip him out because she used to refer to his parts down there as like stinky meat, and I guess that actually really bothered him. So I mean,
all of a sudden he's sensitive.
I know. And this guy, I mean, he was like, he could do accents. So he used to do this Irish accent every now and then. He would just pull ass in the bar whenever he did that.
Do you know him anymore?
It's been years because, well, so anyway. So like, one time he did the Irish accent. And he's like, oh, love, let me buy you a drink and, whatever. Takes a chick home. He massively hungover the next morning. And he's like, oh, man, it's fucking, and she's what happened to your accent? Huh? Yeah. So anyway, like, but that's okay. Like, it wasn't going to get better than that, right. I'm sure. But anyway, so then, he's on his own. And I mean, he goes and he meets this girl, cute girl, porn starlet in a club. She's never done E before. And so, because it's her first time, she apparently needs to do no fewer than 4 tabs that he bought in the club. So he doesn't even know the guy. Yeah. So she gets totally, so she's spewing and vomiting everywhere. And
she didn't die.
No, because she lived long enough for him to impregnate her, like on their 3rd date. And then he, it's like, all right, let's keep the baby. And
what?
They were, I swear to God.
This great story
they were living in a fucking trailer, last I heard, up in the valley. Yeah. I mean,
I don't want to hear stories like this.
No, but the whole thing is
let's
like,
hang out with him. He sounds fun. And
see,
then
this guy is a very bad risk manager. This is why we're cutting our positions.
He makes some valid points.
Yes.
On that bombshell, someone's actually turned up.
Someone has turned up. It's that time to break for the rhythm and the rhyme. We can cut this out.
We're not going to. That at him. Yeah. I was thinking like, wow, I'm so pleased you did that. We're gonna start with that. Okay.
Are we done?
No, I mean there's so much more awesome stuff here.
Well, it is past the hour, but that's okay.
No, we started late though.
Okay.
Let's see here. Well, okay, so let's just end on this in terms of stuff that's, just like dislocations, things that could go massively wrong. Let's do number 3 there.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I want to know about this.
Okay.
The
So,
shit goes Glenn Close in the bathtub.
right. So first, for our younger viewers and Freddy, we need to reference the movie Fatal Attraction. Michael Douglas, Glenn Close.
Doesn't know Fatal Attraction.
Doesn't know Fatal Attraction. So
Fetal attraction.
Glenn Close, it's like, you know, it's, so anyway, towards the end of the movie where Glenn Close turns out to be a psycho, you know, everybody thinks that she's been drowned in the bathtub. And, you know, like Michael Douglas and his wife, whom he cheated on, are, you know, like hugging each other in total relief in the bathroom. And all of a sudden Glenn Close like pops up out of the bathtub going with the knife, and, you know, and then somebody shoots her. So, but anyway.
The wife does, right?
Yeah, but so maybe she wasn't. Anyway, yeah, I think the wife shoots her. So anyhow, there's a shitco that you know and love, I know and love, that is going Glenn Close in the bathtub here. And this is Nano-x, Nno-x. That motherfucker. That fucking
Talk to
scam,
us.
fake imaging bullshit company.
So they put out a press release that they got approval for the wanking injury device, right? Because it literally
It's
it
so
X-rays.
well this
What?
well, so like, okay, so the whole thing is like, oh, we have this revolutionary imaging technology. It costs a fraction of what you know, like CT costs, and, you know, CAT scans, and it's portable, and so it's going to be great for the developing world. We've submitted an application for approval. And so like the whole thing was bullshit, right? So we successfully shorted that. It went public. It IPO'd in 2020 when basically, you know, like fucking toe fungus could IPO at, you know, multi-billion-dollar valuation.
It was a Berenberg, who were a European mid-cap German bank. When they're coming to the US to IPO shit, you know it's toppy.
Yeah, exactly. So then, you know, we put out our report, like, these distribution agreements are bullshit. And, you know, the guy behind it was actually convicted in Israel of fraud back in around 2000, which was very hard to get convicted in Israel of fraud, especially back then. So whole bunch of reasons. Basically, then the thing, you know, went into the toilet where it belongs. But they kind of, you know, they kept filing their filings. And anyway, so they just got FDA clearance on something. And but nobody looked at what it's actually cleared for. So it's X-ray, it's not CT, and it's only cleared for imaging wrist, hand, and fingers. And so, like, what's the third world market for that? Like, again, like masturbation injuries. Like, come on, you know? But the stock is just, you know, gone fucking parabolic on this total bullshit. So, anyway.
I think it was I think.
I mean, we're not by the way, we're not short this thing right now. Although, there's no bar, because it'd be worth it.
They just signed
It would be worth it.
with like a Moroccan distributor or something. You just
What?
yeah.
Well, likely not real. I mean, we don't know. We haven't looked, but, you know, like, nothing with these guys was real.
But I gotta hand it to the guys. They did a demo day.
This
Shortly
was
after
great.
we published. And to be fair to the dude, now he had some real money on the line, so like there is a question as to what I'd do for a couple $100 million. This guy used like a non-FDA approved like X-ray thing on his hand, which, you know, when the guy has hand cancer years down the line, he's gonna be looking at it being like, was this worth it?
When he can no longer jerk himself, yeah.
You know, maybe it
He has another
inflates and you
hand.
lose sensation in it.
It starts with a loss of range of motion,
Yeah.
and then it becomes more forearm driven and elbow. Then it's tennis elbow. Can you image that yet? No, because you wouldn't have gotten approval for that.
True. So anyway, like these guys were prepared to go the distance, like testing some non-approved X-ray device on your hand just to yoke a stock. I have a lot of time.
Was it
for
really
that.
his hand? Was it his secretary's hand?
I'm like, whose hand was? It's always a fucking secretary.
What are you doing?
That's
Shut
what you'll
up.
win your award for next year.
I was thinking as you were telling me this story, I'm like, would I do this for that kind of money? I
Well,
was like thinking,
For the
yeah, I have
for
enough
the
hand.
for the activist category, if to
Yeah.
win for the activist category, that's what you'll have to do. Just stick your hand
you
in
gotta
there,
do
and then
it.
we'll
You gotta do it. You know, you
Yeah.
can't just.
For event driven, I don't know. You'll have to do something with spaghetti, but
That's your department.
not rigatoni, spaghetti.
All right, so
So I think that's good.
that's it. We're gonna just. How do I? You close this off.
No, you do such a good job usually. Go on.
I do such.
I mean, after that intro, man,
Yeah.
like you're
Just
gonna
pay
nail
us
the
out.
outro.
Pay us out.
Hey, it just doesn't sound right. Anyway.
No, that's not what you say when you say goodbye. How do you say goodbye?
Goodbye. I don't know. What are you talking about?
Really?
Anyway, it was great. Till next time. I don't think we're gonna.
Well, actually, there are a couple things here it's important to understand. There's a possibility this is the last ever ZFG because if the
Oh,
global
yeah, you
financial
told me
system does blow up, I don't know.
I'm so glad you didn't remind me of that before we started because that would have been really.
Downer.
Yeah.
I could pay you your bonus in like shells and stuff like that.
No thanks.
I mean, it might be better than money.
Right, well, if it is the last ever ZFG because of the internet, we'll be coming at you in 3 weeks' time from Starlink. So we'll be okay.
Anyway, peace out.
Bye.
Bye, guys.